Welcome. I'm really happy you could join today. Um, and for those of you who don't know me, my name is Caroline, and I am also a dating. I'm a dating and breakup coach. I'm also a former matchmaker, and for years my work focused on helping people who want like a committed, healthy, that relationship that you dream about, but feel just really worn down and discouraged by the whole process. While I was a matchmaker, I realized that most people are, again, not just one more date away from the perfect match, but they have so much more control over their romantic futures and just their lives in general, right? And when they turn inward and focused on discovering and defining and then doing what actually drives them, and how that relates to their decisions and how they align themselves to their goals, they actually got a lot farther than just like one more match and one more date. So, in short, what you do, why you do it, and how you do it, and how it impacts your life. So, I usually work with people from like a very outside in process where we work on this idea. It was a study, it's actually a pretty old one, about how we probably think it's kind of based on like how we probably think our expressions are a reflection of how we feel on the inside, but actually we can change how we feel on the inside from what we do on the outside. So it's this idea like if you start smiling a lot, even if you don't feel like it can change how you feel. It can actually help. So I know it sounds probably kind of cuckoo, but that's what I work on. So last time we went live, we did the burnout audit where we explored where your energy is being sapped the most in the process of dating. So DM me or tell me in the comments, like, if you want to be pointed to that replay session, because I can send you a link to that. But today I'm going to walk you through what happens if you don't take action, like what the real cost is once we've identified where things are going. Grab a notebook if you can get one nearby. Okay. Most of the focus, most of us spend a lot of time focusing on what we'll gain when things change. But tonight we're going to look at what we're losing if they don't. So if you're ready for that, let me know in the comments that you're ready and we'll talk about that. So fantastic. So, first of all, let's talk about why we don't change things we know we should and could and would, right? There there's a lot of comfort in routine and patterns even if they don't serve us. So, there's an ease in not making the effort to change, right? I mean, I'm really guilty of like I have this idea all the time like, oh, when the weather's nice after dinner, we go for a walk, right? That is a good idea. You should do that. But then I'll finish dinner and I will instead go on the couch, and like watch a show or something. And that's not really making the change I want to make, right? I know it's good for me to go for a walk after dinner. It is easier for me to not do it. So there is just comfort. It takes less energy mentally and emotionally to walk a well worn path than to strike out and forge a new one. I talk about this a lot. I talk about this like the patterns that you walk through in your mind, the paths you take. Your brain always is going to take the shortest, easiest path, right? So in staying a familiar cycle, there is no risk, but there's always a cost to not taking a risk. And it may feel safer to just kind of go through the motions and tell yourself the same story over and over to make an issue feel like it's either out of your control or like not really an issue. But like to be clear, no decision is a decision. Okay? In life, inaction is action. There are no neutral choices. Every Not making a choice is a choice, okay? So, in this inaction decision, we tell ourselves things to justify it and to make it fit into our story about ourselves so we don't feel too challenged or we don't feel like we failed. Like a common one would be like I'm not just ready yet, or I'll focus on this when things settle down. I've done that many, many times. I've tried before and it didn't work, so now would why be now like why would it be different now? But coasting isn't a pause, it is a direction. You're still moving in a direction. It's just not intentional and it's not getting you any closer to where you want to be. So if you've ever used any of these excuses, let me know. Let me know in the comments if any of these excuses sound familiar to you. Um, I believe every single person has used these excuses. I certainly have. But it's important that we get real about the costs of doing nothing. Okay. So I want to talk about that. And I promised you 5 things. So let's talk about them. The most expensive costs of not making a change. And this is what you need to start writing down if you were able to grab a notebook. Number one, your patterns get more entrenched, okay? So every month you repeat an unexamined pattern, it becomes more automatic and harder to interrupt. You're wearing down that path in your brain. It is well trodden and it gets easier to walk every single time you walk it. But the same is true, right? If you were to forge a new path, every time you forge that new path, it will get easier to take. So, in the context of dating, some common patterns are like overinvest, thank you, over investing early, tolerating misalignment, dating from urgency, waving off red flags, making excuses for behavior, yours or theirs. And that's not like making excuses for behavior that isn't exemplary of your values, right? If you compromise yourself in a connection, those are patterns, right? Cost number 2 is that your story, that narrative that you tell yourself about your life and who you are, it gets louder. Okay? This like story like, oh, it's just not going to happen for me. It gets harder to contradict the longer you run it without challenging it. So every thought you have, your subconscious does not know if it is true or just a passing thought. So when you have negative self-talk or stories in your head about hopelessness, like your mind and body believe it to be true. So please write this down. My thoughts are my truths, so I must choose my words carefully, right? If your story is like, it never works out for me, you need to change your mantra to my life unfolds in the way that is best for me. Because these thoughts are mantras, whether you intend it or not. If you have a thought about yourself that you repeat a lot, a thought about life, a thought about other people that is not serving you, that you repeat often in your brain, that is a mantra. That's my mantras are I'm allowed. And I use that whenever I'm thinking about trying something new or worried that I will be judged. I just launched ads on Reddit and I was like nervous about that because I know like Reddit's really, really popular. And I was like, people I know are going to see me. And sure enough, I'm beginning text. I just saw you. I just saw you. Like, and I'm like, okay, it's okay. I'm working really hard to help people. I'm allowed. I'm allowed to try new things. I'm allowed to show up, right? And be vulnerable that way. And then the other one I use whenever I feel like I'm not sure how something's going to go. I'm not sure if the thing that happened is a good thing. It feels like bad news, right? I tell myself everything happens in my favor. So whenever someone's like, hey, it turns out that thing isn't really going to work, whatever, this thing isn't going to happen that day. Instead of going like, oh no, what am I going to do? I have to like figure this out. This is going to be so awful. I start to just go, everything happens in my favor. And you know what it does? It turns out, hey, that was a bad day for that. That person wasn't someone you want to be spending time with, whatever it is. I just believe it because it takes as much energy for my brain to it it takes less energy for my brain to think that than to think about the bad thing that happened and trying to solve it and control it into something I want to have happen, right? When you stay in like negative or self-sabotaging loops, evidence accumulates on one side while contradicting evidence gets dismissed because it doesn't fit your narrative, right? We all have this story we tell ourselves about who we are, the world in general, how other people relate to us, all of that stuff. And when something happens that's not in there, that's what they call, cognitive dissonance, is like it doesn't connect. And so it either totally breaks people down, they react really dramatically to it. It's kind of like stories about, when people like go, well, I went to my parents and I like explained to them that I felt like they were, not good to me in these certain ways. And then their parents like absolutely freak out. It's kind of because that doesn't fit into the story they told to themselves about what kind of parents they were. So when you go through life, you're literally building a case to support a conclusion when you throw out things that contradict the story. Okay, so you're doing it backwards, and it's normal, but you can change that. So, like, is anyone into true crime? If anyone's into true crime, of course I am. And if you follow true crime, you know that there are so many cases where like detectives decided something was true and then ignored all evidence that didn't support it. But if you listen to podcasts or you watch shows like this, you're thinking, oh, why would they ignore the broken latch on the door? Well, turn that like on yourself. Why ignore possibilities and focus instead on rejections, for example? Okay. Cost number 3. I promised you 5. Cost number 3. Self-trust erodes when you do not change anything. So every decision made from depletion rather than clarity chips away at your confidence in your own instincts. So I talk a lot about how to build a relationship, the relationship you have with your instincts, with tiny messages and signals that your body and subconscious send to you that help you make decisions and take risks with more comfort and trust in yourself. So when you ignore those signals or you don't strengthen your ability to notice them, you stop trusting your own decision making and perception of the world and your life. Okay, so self-trust is the most important skill in life, and you need to exercise it. Think of it as like a muscle. And if you're never sure of your decisions, you will hesitate to make different ones, even when your current decisions are only taking you farther from whatever it is that you want. So the longer this runs, the harder it becomes to trust yourself in new situations. So you hesitate so long in making decisions that you miss out on opportunities, on new connections, on new experiences, on life. So, cost number 4. Hope becomes harder to access if you do not change anything. So hope is not an unlimited resource if you're not feeding it, okay? Repeated disappointment without the right support in place turns hope into guardedness. Hope is a bucket. It needs to be refilled. And if you're in a cycle that only depletes it because you're never getting like the feedback or results that you want, it gets tougher to refill it. And then you are more guarded in new connections before you see that there's a chance for anything to change your mind about like what's happening, right? And so it's like putting up a wall in front of whatever new thing was going to happen. You're just putting up a wall. And the last cost we're going to talk about today before we get into like things you can do about it is that the window of energy and openness narrows. Okay? So dating after, in the case that we're talking about, which is like dating, and having resilience around going after things that you want. If you date after a certain point of burnout, it requires more effort to produce the same result. So if you are in a cycle of disappointment and discouragement, it literally will not matter if your ideal partner is sitting right in front of you telling you exactly what you want to hear. You will not hear it or see them for who they are because you are too guarded and you are set in patterns that aren't supporting you, right? This is why I focus on this stage, this feeling, this burnout feeling, because continuing inside of burnout will only harm your results and will almost definitely cause you to miss opportunities for amazing connections because you have burnout goggles on, right? You're not seeing them and you're not showing up as the person you want someone to connect with. I recently had an interaction with someone where we were talking about green flags and they said, well, sometimes I'm just in this kind of mood and blah, blah, blah. I said, oh, I thought we were talking about like green flags when you're dating. And they said, oh, you make it sound like you should only date when you're at your best. And I'm like, well, not at your best, right? It's hard to always be at your best. But if you're so distracted and you're so down and you're not noticing the world around you, don't date. Don't be dating. You should not be dating. This is a bad time to be dating. You're wasting your time and energy. You're wasting other people's time and energy, and you're going to walk right into burnout, which leads directly to cynicism, which leads to illness and a lot of other problems. So we do not want to get there, right? We want to stop before we get there. So it's really, really, really important that you think about, am I showing up as the person I want people to see me as, right? Am I showing up with my best qualities, easy to access? And if you don't feel that way, it is a time to turn inward and to look inward and try to get to that point before even looking at dating as a thing you should spend your time on. It's just, usually when people are working with me, they're not dating at all. And if they have it's especially helpful if they have a dating app addiction, if they have a lot of trouble being in their own company, like a lot of trouble being alone. And if they have any issues with finding that satisfaction of holding themselves as individuals and connecting with people as individuals. So if they have problems with that and they feel like they always have to be in relation to somebody else when they're working with me, the nice thing is they have accountability to me that they not be dating. And they have to learn how to refill their bucket and feel satisfied as their own person in their own company and enjoy themselves. That is so important. And so it's kind of nice because if people feel like they really struggle with that, then when they're working with me, they're accountable to someone to make sure that they don't cross the line on that and they stay in the work. Because getting support now versus later is a measurably different experience because you're not just taking time off the apps or just not dating. It's a structured plan that progresses you through burnout recovery. So you feel like you can approach your journey to love and partnership or to a very fulfilling solo life with fresh eyes, right? So it doesn't feel like you're just opting out of something, like you're just stepping off a train, but you're really investing in. You're investing in your life and yourself and your future. You're getting on a different train, a better train. So if any of this sounds good so far, let me know. So let's do a little exercise. It's called the 6-month test, okay? So the idea is that you're going to answer these four questions. So, what does my dating life look like in 6 months if I keep doing exactly what I am doing right now? What does it look like in 1 year? What does it look like in 3 years? What making? I had several clients because of the city I work in, big tech city, and I had a lot of clients who were guys who were programmers. And when I asked them, like, tell me about your day, tell me about your typical day or how you spend your time, they would say, I get up, I go to work. After work, I go to the gym, I grab takeout for dinner, I go home and play video games, I go to bed. Where in there are they going to meet someone? And when that is your typical day and you're not doing anything to interrupt it, then you know exactly what your life is going to look like in 6 months, 1 year, 3 years. You know exactly what it's going to look like. The same. It's going to look the same. Nothing changes, right? And it's easy to do that. It feels comfortable and it feels safe, but nothing, no risk without reward, right? No reward without risk. You're not going to get there by doing the same thing over and over and over again. And I know it's so much easier and it feels so much safer, but any good thing that you can create for yourself in your life took an element of sticking your neck out there. So you think, I'm allowed to try this new thing. I'm allowed to join this new group. I'm allowed to go to this random event by myself. I'm allowed. I'm allowed to make it clear to all my friends who think I'm just really happy single that I would like to meet someone. I'm allowed because you are allowed. You're allowed. You can try new things, you know? So let's think about some things you could do, okay? So it's not about like rushing or forcing a change, but taking steps in a way that feels truer to you. But the best ideal version of yourself. So if you start making decisions today as the person you want to be instead of who you are at your most discouraged, you will get closer to what you want. I absolutely promise. Okay. And this isn't magical manifestation thinking. This is actually science. That if you think about what would I used, okay, I'll tell you a joke, okay, that I used to have about myself. And sometimes I still say it, but I'm a bit of a night owl. And my joke used to be like, well, I do have to get up early tomorrow, but I don't know tomorrow, Caroline. Maybe I don't like her. Maybe I don't care if she has a good day tomorrow, you know? And it's like kind of a joke, right? But that is like the opposite of what you want to be doing. You want to be thinking, I love tomorrow me. I love tomorrow me. What does tomorrow me need to succeed that I can do today? What can I do? Is it like laying out my clothes? Is it making sure I get my exercise in today? Is it making sure I like really get through that to-do list? Is it making sure I get some sunshine and I go out and I get some fresh air? What serves tomorrow me? And who do I want her to feel like? What do I want her to think about her day? What can I do to serve her tomorrow? She is my best friend and I care about her the most. So I'm going to do everything I can today so she feels great tomorrow. That's how you want to be thinking. It is real science. It is studied. I am trained in it. That's what you want to do. I'm trying to explain it in a way that makes sense. Sometimes just saying like try, change your thoughts. It's hard. It's hard. So it's more thinking about who are you tomorrow? Who do you want to be? How do you want to feel? What can you do today to get closer to that? And a lot of people think about these really big things. You start small, start small. And the other thing is that self-control is a muscle. You can't do it all at once, right? So it's like if people try to like control their diet and their spending at the same time, that is very, very difficult. Pick one, right? If someone wants to start working out and control their diet at the same time, also, anyone who's tried it, which is a lot of people, difficult. It's difficult. It's easier to first like kind of get your diet into a routine so you stop having to really think about it too much, and then get the exercise into a routine, like, and slowly make incremental changes. But if you're thinking about who you want to be tomorrow, you want to be someone who feels great because they got their workout in today, then that's who we're going to be, right? So, okay, three things that change when you stop coasting and you start actually building towards that. Decisions will come from clarity instead of like depletion. So, if you're moving forward with a plan instead of making a decision based on what you actually don't want, you're thinking about what do I want instead of what am I avoiding? What am I keeping myself safe from? Disappointment stops accumulating into burnout, but instead it just turns into lessons that you keep, and the rest kind of rolls off your back, right? Because you know what is true and valuable, and that when there's disappointment, things happen, they didn't go the way you wanted, you're like, that's not really about me. That's not really about me. I did my best. So the rest is not really about me. And then the relationship that you want actually has room to arrive because it's like opening the door and letting the air in instead of shutting it to keep the storm out, right? So the goal is to be just really intentional, right? All things take risk, they take some work, they take some focus, and you can't do these things when you're feeling just burned out and discouraged. It's really, really tough. So getting over that and getting support for that is like really important. But what we just talked about today, it's like, it's not always easy to hear, okay? Comfort is the default for a reason, but that doesn't mean it's the right thing to be doing. To get what we want, again, we got to stick our necks out a little bit. And every time you make a choice, you're deciding what you want in life. And it's important, therefore, to be very, very intentional about those decisions. And I'm not trying to scare anyone or anything. I'm just trying to show you a roadmap to change. We only get this one life and it moves very, very fast. Trust me. I have a daughter who's almost 19 and I swear I just had her. Trust me. It moves very, very fast. So spending too much time in stages and places that are not what we want is a waste of your life. I'm not just going to say your time. Time is life, right? Your time is your life. So when you spend it in the wrong place, it is a waste of life. So if you want to work on like your own roadmap for getting out of a burnout cycle, please and please remember these burnout cycles, they lead to cynicism. Cynicism makes you ill. Okay? Just book a free session with me. It's totally free, totally low pressure. I'll talk to you during that time. I will hear your story. I will do as much as I can within that time. And also subscribe to my newsletter. In the newsletter, this week, I will have a very clear list of like other things you can do to get out of whatever cycle isn't serving you right now. I don't spam you, I swear to God. They only go out like once a week, usually on Fridays, sometimes only every 2 weeks. I will not spam you. I hate getting an email from like something I signed up for every single day, so I won't do that to you. But today it's not about trying to scare you, okay? I just want to show you a path outside of the one you've been walking. It's literally why my program is called the 6 Steps Path, because I've broken out 6 key things to do to get the life you dream about. I also have an e-course that's like really, really on sale right now, and you can just grab it. But if you want to book a free session, link is in my bio, link is in the comments. And you can also, if you subscribe to the newsletter, you get conversation starters for like apps or in person that'll help you kind of stand out from the crowd, so you're not stuck in like, what are you doing? How are you? Have a good day? Like, you're not stuck in that, what do I even say to this kind of limbo, which really, really leads to burnout. So that's it. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments or reach out in DMs. I always want to know what's going on for people. If I can help, I want to help. The important things in my life are connection and feeling resourceful and capable in your life. Those are things that I really, everything I do kind of comes from that spot of wanting to provide that to people. So that's what we do. I promise, if you book a free session with me, it's super low pressure. We just work with the time that you're able to provide. Okay? Um, Hopefully I will see you again soon. And next time, again, subscribe to the newsletter. Okay? It's so important. I do a roundup of dating news and topics and related topics from all corners of the internet. And then I do highlights about things I've been talking about this week. And I kind of have like a topic each week. And it's kind of a nice little digest. So hopefully you subscribe to that. And I will see you next time. Okay, thanks. Bye.